Warning, the following video contains major spoilers for Xenogears. Wiseman, Khan Wong, Faye's father. In the grand scheme of Xenogears, he's not anyone special, at least not born into any special role, like the Contact or the Anti-type. It's also not known if he could align with an anima relic, like most of the rest of the playable cast and some enemies, such as Ramses. What Khan Wong is a normal man, a husband, a father, and what's interesting is, was he good at that last role? Was Khan Wong a good father? Now to start off with, the deck is already well stacked against him. In the world of Xenogears, being a parent is a pretty tough business. In fact, in the whole game, there were only 2 decent fathers who even survived the events of the story, let alone the many others who are either terrible, Carillion, Kaiser, or just don't make it. Even with that bit of context, the case for Khan is certainly not straightforward. 15 years before that fateful wedding in Lahan, Khan is an agent of Shivat, a lieutenant actually. A master martial artist trained by one of the best of all time, Gaspar. I'm confident his skills made him an invaluable asset to Shivat, as we can see when Faye and Co. climb Babel Tower that their military is all but dismantled. The 3 sages are gone, and they're forced to rely on a gutsy 13-year-old girl as their lone protector. Khan's value to Shivat must have kept him busy. Much, much too busy. When Miang takes over his wife Karen's body and begins to experiment terribly on their 4-year-old son, Khan's credibility goes off the rails a bit. I've recently become a father myself, and maybe it's my new perspective, but I find it almost impossible to believe that he didn't notice the changes in his wife and his traumatized son. I understand Miang certainly has pretending and manipulating down to a fine art after 10,000 years of doing it. However, well, I can't imagine what a traumatized 4-year-old would act like, especially one with a personality disorder, but I can surmise that failing to see the dreadful damage that was done to his son was tantamount to severe negligence at the least. Another point against Khan, although to be fair it's hard to put the blame squarely on his shoulders, is when Graf shows up, he defeats Khan and ultimately the Shivat lieutenant is unable to protect his wife, his son, or himself. Then it takes almost 11 years from that point to find and catch up with Graf and his warped son Faye, who's almost fully ID now, or id. That decade of time it took to track down his son. How many lives were lost, places destroyed, cultures torn asunder. We know of at least one major massacre during that time. Now, with all that said, to Khan's credit, it takes some serious stones to face down the demon who took everything away from you a decade ago, and a superpowered merciless monster. It takes courage, and it shows Khan's resourcefulness that he was able to come up with a way to create a victory from those conditions. Victory may not seem like the correct word, given that he was possessed by Graf, but somehow, some way, he was able to execute a plan that allowed him to achieve his objective of rescuing his son from Graf and his own destructive personality at the same time. It cost him his body, but in the end, he was able to seal up id within Faye's third personality and contain Graf long enough within himself to take his son to Lahan village, away from Solaris and all the other worldly problems. Again, this really can't be understated. As I mentioned at the start, Khan is not a contact. He's probably not even someone who could pilot an Omnigear. He's not even a 4,000-year-old wandering celebrity. He's just a normal person who has basically an impossible task, but he does it anyway. Speaking of impossible task, how exactly did Khan come up with the strategy to manage Faye's personalities by creating a third one? I mean, I get he's a master martial artist, Sort of just picture him training on a mountain or sitting underneath a waterfall, mastering the Dark Hado or something like that. But this leads me to a theory that Khan may have researched and developed a means of controlling the mind. He must have figured out that his son's condition was multiple personalities, and in trying to come up with a way to correct that without killing his boy, he probably also remembered that Graf was about to attempt to possess Faye. Those realizations led him down a path where he realized he didn't have to win physically, but maybe he could win on the mental battlefield. I believe he came into that overmatched showdown planning on being taken over by Graf. Then, using his mental training and fortitude he built up in the past decade, he was going to turn the tables on him, and then somehow use a technique that sealed it away inside of his own mind, building a fresh slate. Even with all that planning, that's a long way, a difficult long shot to be sure. Something to underscore just how, let's say, fallible and normal of a guy he is. When Wiseman appears to give Faye advice, he's far from omnipotent. He doesn't even really know the state of Faye's mind and memory when they meet. In fact, it's not until their third meeting in Kislev that Wiseman finds out Faye has no memory of his father. How terrible must that feel for Khan under that mask, that his son doesn't even remember his father's name or face. It's a testament to his will and resolve that even with that knowledge, he's able to wrest control from Graf long enough to aid his son and the party at various times throughout the story. And Wiseman's interventions are another point of contention. Could it have helped Faye and his friends if he had revealed Graf's real nature? Or maybe if he had given instructions earlier, directing his son to Shivat. He could have had his limiter removed that much earlier. Maybe even saved many of the people of the Ethos. Perhaps he could have visited Torah and had it suppressed earlier, or maybe an enhanced Weltall too. But these are all suppositions. What coulds and what ifs. Wiseman has no way to accurately predict the course of events. He opted for a more hands-off approach, letting Faye go in the direction that most naturally suited his son. He shows trust in his son to develop his personality and become a more mentally stable individual, without direct guidance, but he does offer critical advice to help his son in his journey, especially this scene after Ellie is captured by Corellian. Ultimately, Khan Wong does the best he can by his son. Khan doesn't know what comes up next. He's unsure of the best path to take. He just does his best to figure it out. Is that good enough to make him a decent father? think the best measure of that is the man Faye would turn out to be. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed that. Making this video was a bit of a challenge since Khan is not really in the game very much, but it was a lot of fun to do for sure. If you don't know, I've already completed a few other character analysis videos on Dominia and Margie, so go ahead and go check those out if you haven't seen them already. And there's going to be a whole lot more to come. The next set of characters, I think we're going to be Sigurd, and I'm going to put up a poll, so be on the lookout for that, and I'll let you guys choose the next Xenogears character. So if you're watching this on YouTube and you're interested, head over to the Xenogears fan group in the Facebook, and I'll put the poll up there maybe in a week or so. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed that. We'll see you next time. See ya.